Imagine you're the King of England.
Done.
You are enjoying a time of riches and peace. After your dynasty survived multiple wars, you'd think you'd be happy and content. But what if you don't have an heir yet? You're in your mid-30s and you know the requirement of an heir and a spare is needed soon. So what do? We'll find out on this week's episode of Cheeky Tales.
Hello, boy.
Hi, boy.
I have my prediction.
Okay.
Is it to lots of Yeah, got him coming in hot. Yeah, just graphic, violent swearing.
Is that even in the episode?
Nah, that's getting bleeped.
Wow.
I'm going to have to find a bleep tone and chuck that over the top.
Wow. Holy, I'm done. Thanks for listening.
Shut him down.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
How are you, boy?
Good boy. How are you?
Yeah.
How was your maths final last night?
Oh,
I brought it up to this week.
good on you because you're into it.
Yeah,
I know you watched it. Yeah, look, underwhelming to be honest.
After the build-up of the last couple of episodes, spruiking how good it is. Oh, no.
Mate, the season was it was bonkers. Just insult after insult after dramatic tension building moment after dramatic tension building moment. And by the end of it, you're just kind of like, anything that happens I've seen before. Just dolled up bogans screaming at each other, people cheating on each other, people trying to cheat on each other, couples breaking up, couples getting back together, just everything. Great show, though. Okay. Would recommend. And now there's Maths UK.
Oh.
So it's Maths, but with accents like this in it. It's great.
I've heard other people talk about shows similar, like Love is Blind. Are you interested in watching that? Do you know what that show is?
I don't even know which one that is.
Apparently it's like a couple and they will live together and whatever, but they don't see each other. There's like always a separation, and they spend lots of time together just like talking and all that.
Okay.
And then they get to a point of, do you want to marry? Yeah. And if they both say yes,
right,
then the first time they see each other
is the wedding.
Okay.
Fair enough. Sure. No, I haven't watched that one.
The other thing I saw today on the Facebooks was they're advertising for next season of Maths for people to apply. You're not married?
All right then. Can't imagine the trash they're going to get.
So you're not interested in applying?
No, not at all. I don't want to be on it. I don't want to live that stuff. I just want to see it.
Oh, if you were on, I'd watch it.
So if I was on...
If you want me to watch the show, that's how you do it.
I'll get myself on Maths. No, I don't want to be on that. No, thank you.
Well, interestingly enough, we are talking about marriage this week, boy.
Yeah, lots of them too.
We are talking about Henry VIII and his, how many wives?
8.
6.
Oh.
Not close. That's Liz Taylor. Liz Taylor? She had 8 marriages.
Right.
Gaga Gabor, I think.
Lady Gaga.
No.
Gaga Jabor.
Yeah, I think she was up there with around about 8 or so.
Mm.
I think 7 husbands, but 8 marriages.
Oh, he married one of them twice.
Yeah, something like that. And there was a bloke. Who was the bloke? I don't know. Anyway, I did look it up. Not important.
I think a lot of people have a bit of an understanding of who Henry VIII is and what he was into.
Yeah, well, what is your understanding of Henry VIII?
Well, I know that, I've actually watched a couple of things on Henry VIII, so I know a bit more than the average person.
Sure.
And by average person, I mean like a little bit more. But I know that he is known for being big fat fatty, loved his feasts, loved his ladies, wink, and loved beheading his ladies when he was done with them.
Mm.
I know that he invented divorce as we know it, or at least like pressured for it to be a thing.
I never really read that, but
maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure. Wasn't he the one that started the Church of England?
Yes.
Yeah. So I go into get divorced.
I go into a little bit of that because, boy, wow, English history. There's a lot of English history, especially around this time, which is around the early 1500s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff happening. Like I said, there was a bit of a time of riches and peace because there was, what was it? It was like 100 Years' War with Spain. And then there was a bit of a civil war with the War of the Roses.
Okay.
And that ended with Henry's father, Henry VII, becoming king.
Wait, it went from Henry VII to Henry VIII?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Name your son yourself.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later because there's a little bit extra to that. But
yeah.
So yeah, like you said, we have spoken about Henry before.
We have.
Big Fat Fatty. in the
Big Fat Fatty.
Christmas special. He was one of the inspirations for the jolly big man we have today.
Yeah.
And I guess that's when you talk about it, that's what you picture of King Henry. I'm going to try and stick to one wife at a time because there's a bit
That's
of
a good plan.
Yeah, there's a good. Not for me personally, for the episode.
Oh, okay. John thinks multiple wives is all right.
No, I don't. Don't put words in my mouth. Keep my wife's name
out your lovely mouth.
Oh,
that's probably the most topical reference we've ever made. Yeah.
No, for the episode.
By the way, you remember we talked in that episode that was just us chatting about what I was looking forward to?
Yeah.
Do you remember what I said I was looking forward to?
No.
The Foo Fighters concert?
Oh, yeah.
And then Taylor Hawkins dies.
Oh, yeah, that's sad.
I'm so upset. As a drummer, very upsetting.
Oh, yeah.
I know I've just absolutely handbraked the story, but yeah, it just reminded me of that.
Yeah, sure. Well, I was reading a thing about Taylor Hawkins. It was said that he was probably the only drummer you could have backing up Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Because Dave Grohl was such a good drummer himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I say backing up, I mean like in the band as he's singing and stuff like that. So
it feels so bad for Dave Grohl and like all of the Foo Fighters family. But like Grohl already lost a great mate in Kurt Cobain.
I was going to say, yeah, it happened before, hasn't it?
Yeah. And then in his book, Dave Grohl's like talking about Taylor as like, he's my best friend. We're soulmates. Like this kind of stuff. And then he dies. Like, oh man. Anyway.
Terrible.
Handbrake off. Back into the story.
Sure. There's a bit of overlapping between wives. So
he a dog.
Going back and forth in time a bit with each story of each wife. So yeah, I'm going to pretty much try and keep to one at a time and go to their completion. And then, like I said, there might be stepping back a little bit for the next one.
Okay.
There's also a lot of repeating names. So I'll try and keep it as clear as possible.
I'm sure we're going to hear Henry a lot.
Oh, yes, we are. But he's not for a story involving roughly 7 people.
Yeah.
I think there's like 3 names.
Okay. I'm guessing one of them is Mary.
Yes, one of them is Mary.
Oh, and Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Oh.
And also before you start, boy, I actually want to issue a trigger warning for this episode. Because a lot of parts of these stories, now this is a little bit serious for the cheeky boys, cheeky tales, us cheeky boys.
You can tell because I haven't made a joke.
There's a lot of pregnancy and stillborn issues that come up. So if you're dealing with that or if you have dealt with it, just want to let you know that is something that comes up quite often, especially with the first marriage. Personally, I've dealt with it with my own having children. We had a couple of miscarriages, etc. And Kirsty and I as a couple have been involved in the community of people who struggle to have children, Kirsty being a surrogate and trying to do egg donation. So, but I just wanted to get that out there and let people know it's a real issue. And for some weird reason, as we discovered, it doesn't get talked about until it happens.
Yeah. I found that in my personal experiences as well. Not that I have had to deal with that, but knowing people that have gone through it, it's a very like taboo topic. Like people just don't want to talk about it, which is understandable.
It's not even so much taboo. It just doesn't get discussed about until it happens, and then you talk to other people and go, "Oh yeah, we've been through that."
And it's way more common than you think.
Yeah, it's very common. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out before we start. That does come up a bit. Yeah. So if you're not ready to hear about any of that kind of stuff,
maybe this isn't the episode. But we will be respectful, obviously.
Oh yes, definitely. So I'm going to start with a bit of a background on Henry VIII. Yeah. Henry Tudor was born on the 28th of June, 1491, to parents King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York.
Yep.
He was the second son and the third child of the pair.
Second son?
He was the second son, yes.
Okay. Going to be some murder in me, thinks.
You're wrong.
Oh, okay.
He was bestowed these titles when he was about 3 years old, and they were Earl Marshal of England, Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, and Knight of Bath.
Okay.
I'm assuming the place Bath.
Place is Bath.
And not like in
He's the knight of getting in people's tubs.
Scrub-a-dub-dub.
He's the knight of washing your back when you can't reach it.
There were many other titles given to young Henry as well. He wasn't expected to become king, being the second son.
The spare.
The spare, yes, correct. but he was given a first-rate education. Other than that, there is not much known about his early life apart from like his official appointments that he went to.
They didn't bother taking much notice of young hens.
Correct. In 1502,
Yep.
Henry's older brother and heir to the throne died when he was 15 from sweating sickness.
Okay, sweating sickness.
Sweating sickness.
I imagine, like, it's got a funny name,
Yes.
but I imagine it's one of those awful, like, pre-medicine diseases that, like, rotted your bones from the inside out or something. Like, you sweat yourself into a rot.
I tried looking it up and it was maybe believed to be like some other disease and all that,
Yeah.
but pretty much it was very quick once you got it and it was just like very high mortality rate.
Which probably most things back then were, to be honest.
In the 1500s, yeah.
Yeah.
Henry's
Oh,
older
stub my toe. Blech.
20 weeks after Arthur's marriage to Catherine of Aragon, his death thrust all his duties upon his 10-year-old younger brother, Henry.
10.
Henry was 10 at the time.
Oh, I guess he's not king at this point, though.
No. But he did become the Duke of Cornwall, Prince of Wales, and Earl of Chester in February of 1504.
Prince of Wales is always the heir to the throne,
I
right?
believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause Prince Charles is the Prince of Wales.
Yes.
Yeah.
Henry VII, the father,
Yeah.
renewed his efforts for a marital alliance between England and Spain by offering his son, Henry VIII, in marriage to the widowed Catherine.
Gross.
So the father's gone, well, so there was a bit of an unease between, I think it's Spain, but it was called something else at the time.
Espanol.
No, it was like
I know.
Kane or Khan or something like that. It was weird. So just to like, they were obviously wanting to, that was a thing back in the day. Like,
Yeah, you just marry him off and
Married
then everyone's happy
alliance
somehow and
yeah,
great. Yeah.
there's a bunch of Catholic laws in here as well that I couldn't really wrap my head around that to allow all this kind of stuff because at the time it was all like Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I got very lost in reading all these laws. Adam did actually do a bit of a summary for me. He tried to because I asked him.
Adam, our resident English law expert.
Catholic law expert.
Oh, whatever.
Uh,
Old-timey law expert, Adam.
so it goes into there was like the Pope had to give permission for this to happen. So it wasn't like illegal in the church's eyes. And
Right.
the reason it was allowed to happen was because the marriage wasn't consummated. So back then, family went on sex, not
Yeah.
actual marriage. So until they actually consummated that marriage, they weren't. So if that had happened,
Yeah.
Catherine would have been Henry's sister. But because that didn't happen, she denied it, and her
Right.
chaperone also
Denied.
denied it. That was the Pope was then like, well, yes, you two can get married because you're not brother and sister. So there's a whole bunch of Catholic laws, boring and confusing.
Our side podcast, Aaron and John discuss ancient Catholic laws, obviously cancelled.
So Henry and Catherine were betrothed to each other on June 25th, 1503. And Catherine's mother, actually, Isabella, she died in 1504. And she was one of the main proponents for those two getting married after, like to
bolster the alliance.
bolster the alliance. Her death, along with some other problems
Yeah.
in Castile, which was the name I was trying to think of before, there was like succession problems in Castile, and the relationship between Henry VII and Catherine's father, Ferdinand, they had deteriorated. So there were some issues there. Also, further compounding the issue again, like when they were betrothed to each other, cohabitation wasn't possible because the son, Henry VIII, was too young at the time.
He was 10.
Yeah, so
How old was she?
she was 5 years older than him. So,
15 and 10. That's weird.
so at the time, we're talking 1504.
Yeah.
Arthur died in 02. So Henry at the time is 12, Catherine's 17.
Oh, that's so weird.
It's weird.
Not weird if it's like 10 years later.
No, not really.
Weird at this point.
At this point,
yeah.
The cohabitation wasn't possible because he was too young. And as soon as Henry turned 14, he pretty much rejected the marriage himself. He's like, oh, I don't want this to happen. As soon as he could, he was like, nah, this is not happening.
No, thanks.
Yeah. So that left
I want to go out to the clubs.
that kind of left Catherine stuck in limbo. Like she
Yep.
couldn't go back. Now she was no longer betrothed.
Yeah.
So she had nothing going for. She had no
Why
finances.
did Henry decide to say no?
He just didn't want to.
Okay.
He didn't want to.
Maybe she was a toilet roll on the outside kind of person.
I'm not sure.
You know, like over under.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right. I don't think
Maybe she was an over.
I don't think they had toilet paper back then.
I've said this before. The only time I want to live is now. I don't want to live in a time pre-toilets. I don't want to live in time pre-daily baths. I don't want to live in a time pre-deodorant. I'm good with where we are.
So to get his daughter out of the situation, Ferdinand's solution was to make her ambassador, like from Castile to England.
Sick.
That allowed her to stay in England indefinitely. Devout as she was, though, she began to believe that it was God's will that she married the prince despite his opposition. So she was set on it. Now, this is Henry's early life. We'll get into the marriage soon. But when, like we were discussing earlier, when you think of Henry VIII, what do you picture? We said this before. Big dude,
tubby bloke.
Big tubby bloke.
Bit of a chicken leg hanging out his mouth.
Bit
of sauce on his shirt. Maybe he's got the button at the bottom undone because he's a little bit too big.
The belly button poking out with a massive innie or an outie because it's so...
Yeah, he does that shirt thing where he like, pulls it out.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like,
makes that noise.
Yeah. And when he talks, he, in between words,
sweats
big
when he
breath
eats.
in. Yeah, he's got like a handkerchief at all times and he's like, wiping his sweat away.
As he's munching into a drumstick.
His fingers like under his nails are just all like little bits of food.
So I think...
I'm not close.
The picture we're going to probably put up on socials of Henry is going to be that picture. The one that everyone recognises.
The one everyone knows. Yeah, the painting everyone knows of big tubbers.
This was not the case when he was a young bloke.
Yeah, he was a hot boy, wasn't he?
He was a hot boy.
Hot stuff.
So
hot prince coming through.
In his youth, he was handsome, athletic, the most eligible prince in all of Europe.
Yeah.
He was also a complex man, intelligent, boisterous, flamboyant, extravagant. He was athletic, musical. He played the lute and the flute. He was a poet.
Wow.
Ruthless, arrogant, passionate. Henry was only 17 years of age when he became king in 1509.
Nice.
He was 6 feet 2 inches tall.
Oh, he's taller than me.
He's a tall boy.
Big boy. That would have been big for the time too.
Pale skin and auburn hair. He was, like I said,
Auburn?
Auburn. Yeah, that's what they described
like
it.
Brown?
No, that's like, I think that's red. Ginger. Do we want a fact check?
Yeah.
Fact check. I have a drink. I need this. You didn't supply me with the sippy cup.
I
think it's a reddish brown.
Apparently it's a suburb in New South Wales. Postcode 2144.
Yeah, that's not what we're looking for.
16 kilometres west of Sydney's central business district. Yeah, it's a variety of red. It's like a brownie red.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
So yeah, auburn hair. Like I said, he was athletic, a man of action, and enjoyed all kinds of sports, including hunting, jousting, real tennis, and riding.
Real tennis?
Real tennis. I knew you were going to get on this one. Real tennis. Do you know what real tennis is?
No.
Real tennis is, I looked this up because I knew you were going to ask. It's kind of like the tennis we know today.
Yep. Giant bats?
Played indoors with a ball made out of hair.
Gross. Gross. What?
Yeah. This is what the description was. The ball could bounce off the wall, so it was like end to end. It wasn't like squash where you hit it into the wall and back.
Yeah.
It was like a tennis court and you hit it over a net. It could bounce off the walls, and there were points awarded because there was like 3 circles high up along the back wall. If you hit it through the circle as well, there was points for that as well. So I was describing this to Kirsty last night. I'm like, I wonder if that's where like Quidditch got inspiration
maybe. That
from.
Sounds
very Quidditch.
Ball of hair.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So it.
I want to play real tennis. Is there a league around here?
I didn't actually look that up, but it
surely not.
It didn't. It petered out a little bit because it was the courts weren't very. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for.
Space
abundant.
Conscious. Okay, yeah. Probably making a ball out of hair.
Yeah.
Difficult as well.
And it was only like the nobles and rich people that played real tennis and stuff like that. I do believe there are some courts and stuff still.
I wonder if it was called real tennis to begin with, or when tennis that we know came out, people were like, I'm going to play real tennis.
I'd say that's what's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, this newfangled tennis is not the real tennis.
I reckon we could do
if
that.
If that ball ain't made of hair, I ain't there.
That's its slogan.
Yeah.
I reckon we could probably do an episode of like
imagine Wimbledon
forgotten sports.
Imagine Wimbledon. Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Wimbledon, but it's a hairball. Yeah.
You just got a cat on the side of the court. new balls, please.
Yeah.
And you just hear, how quick does that sound make you wake up in the middle of the night as well?
Oh, immediate. Immediate. And you know what? I was about to say that I haven't heard it for a long time. Guarantee I hear it tonight now.
Sorry for putting that on you. Like I said, he was well, back to Henry. He was a musician. He played the flute, lute, and organ.
Rock star.
He also wrote poetry, an avid reader, and he owned a library of over 1,000 books.
Wow, that's a lot of books.
Mhm.
That's more books than I have.
So it's not the image that we have of the fat, tubby dude. Like you just think
This is a hot stud.
this is an
Smart hot stud.
eligible bachelor,
Hot nerd.
Prince of England
Yeah.
or Wales, whatever. But yeah,
Prince of Wales. Do you reckon like Wales is a bit annoyed that as a separate country,
I don't fully understand how
the
that works.
Prince of
over
Wales is the King of England?
Yeah.
Like becomes the King of England?
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand how Wales ties into England.
And like if
There's so much history of Ireland and Scotland and how all they tie into each other.
if it was a female,
Mm.
are they like the Duchess of No, because the Duke of York, that's different to the Prince of Wales. So would it be the Princess of Wales?
I don't know. Because what was
Queen Elizabeth.
I
don't know.
didn't actually look that up. What I was gonna say, what was Diana? She was
Diana was
the Duchess of Wales.
Cambridge?
Cambridge.
Duchess of Cambridge.
Yeah.
Is that what? No, because that's not the Queen. Like that's all right. Let's find out. What was
Like I said,
Queen?
looking into this episode, there is a lot of that you can get lost down rabbit holes of. And I was just like, I need to ignore it because I'll never get this episode written and it'll go for 3.5 hours.
She worked as a truck mechanic, Queen Elizabeth.
Is that the second or first?
The current one.
The second.
No, the one in the Victorian era. What? Truck mechanic?
True. You don't know. They might have had trucks.
Wow.
Almost just spit take everywhere.
Princess Elizabeth of York. Royal Highness the Princess Elizabeth. All right, you're right. There's too many things
There's
to go
so
down.
many titles.
So
that
dumb.
go down.
They had nothing better to do than just make up this crap back then. They're like, oh, what can we do? Play real tennis again? Oh, no, not enough cats to make hairballs. Oh, well, we'll just make up some more titles.
We joke about the cat's hairballs. I think it was human hair that was made out of.
Yeah, I assume that. Yeah.
Okay,
Way grosser to think you're just picking up hairballs from a cat and just whacking them into a wall. That wet splat.
All right, we're gonna get.
This is the real. This is the real.
This is real tennis, not that fake crap you play.
You don't get cat spit on your hands, as if.
Well, did you know, like tennis rackets?
Yeah.
Back in the day,
wasn't it like it was goat intestine or some crap?
cat intestines.
That's
cat guts.
Wow! So they use the whole cat.
Yeah, it was cat guts.
Gross.
And it wasn't even that long ago that they were still using cat guts.
Oh, Ash Barty won Wimbledon with.
No, Ash didn't. We're not going to put that on her. Great woman.
Great woman.
Congratulations on your recent Brookwater Women's Championship golf win.
Yeah, cat murderer.
First marriage to Catherine of Arden.
You don't want to disparage Ash Barty some more?
No, I don't. That's on you. That's all you.
Sorry, Ash Barty.
She could listen.
She might. I hope she does.
Yeah.
Well, she probably won't anymore.
If you know Ash Barty, please share it with her.
Maybe not this episode.
No, this episode, she's getting a shout out.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know what? Fair. Yeah, be happy you got the shout out, Ash. What, you think you're better than being called a cat murderer?
Yes, she actually is.
I'm doubling down. I've already been cancelled.
So, Catherine of Aragon, who is the Catherine I was just speaking of before.
Yep.
As I said before, Prince Henry became king when his father died on the 21st of April, 1509.
Yep.
And soon after his father's burial on May 10th, he suddenly declared that he would indeed marry Catherine.
Nice.
So he's done a backflip.
Yep.
I will
He
now.
probably could too because he's so athletic.
Yep, marry this woman.
Yep.
He said, "No, I don't want to," and now he is.
Yep.
He.
How old was he when he said no?
It was about 14,
And how old is he now?
17.
Yeah, that's about that age where they're like rebelling against even themselves.
Yep. He would insist that it was his father's dying wish that he married Catherine.
Okay.
But it was also convenient at the time because Emperor Maximilian I had been attempting to marry his granddaughter Eleanor, who was Catherine's niece,
Yep.
to Henry.
And he didn't want that?
He didn't want that. So the couple had a low-key wedding and were wed on the 11th of June, 1509. And they
Right.
were both coronated just under 2 weeks later.
Okay. And she would have been 22 at this point.
Yes, she's 5 years older than him.
Right. Yeah.
As a bit of a precursor
Yep.
to his future actions,
Mm.
2 days after the coronation, Henry had 2 of his father's most unpopular ministers executed
Yeah, that
on
seems
charges
very
of
much the
high
way.
treason.
Okay. Yep.
He also apparently returned some of the money these ministers supposedly extorted. So
Okay.
he did a bit of good there.
Bit of medieval justice.
But that was the first recorded beheadings that he ordered.
Right.
Just, what was it? 2 days after he was coronated. Straight into it.
He's not mucking around, is he?
No. Shortly after being wed, Catherine conceived. Unfortunately, she gave birth to a stillborn girl on the 31st of January 1510. About 4 months later, she became pregnant again and would give birth on the 1st of January 1511.
Okay.
Happy New Year's. This son was called Henry. The eye roll.
You weren't kidding. There's only about 7 names in this story.
It gets worse.
Oh,
but
his second son, also named Henry. Are you kidding me?
we'll get to that.
Are you kidding me?
We'll get to that.
Oh.
The couple were obviously very pleased to have a boy, and festivities were held.
Yeah.
Including a 2-day joust known as the Westminster Tournament.
Sick. Jousting's sick.
Yeah, jousting's so cool. Have you seen live jousting?
No.
A couple of years ago, I went to the medieval festival up the sunny coast, and they had jousting there.
Sick.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But again, awfulness plagued these two as the baby passed away 7 weeks later. Catherine had 2 more stillborn sons in 1513 and 1515, but gave birth in February 1516 to a girl, Mary. Relations between Henry and Catherine had been strained, but they eased slightly after Mary's birth.
That's good.
So a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I actually don't have any statistics, but I'm sure back then having children was probably much more difficult than it is today.
Jeez, that's awful.
Yeah, it is. It's awful. This whole time, it's said that the king had many mistresses.
Oh, gee, what a surprise.
The most significant mistress for about 3 years, starting in 1516, was Elizabeth Blount. Blount gave birth in June 1519 to Henry's only acknowledged illegitimate son, Henry Fitzroy.
Oh, come on, dude. Stop perpetuating the cycle of Henrys.
The young boy was made Duke of Richmond in June 1525. So he's in there, but this is the only child that was acknowledged to be illegitimate.
The only one that is his that is also not in wedlock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Acknowledged.
Right.
There's speculations of
them,
other children, yes. Another mistress to the king was Mary Boyland. She was a lady in waiting to Catherine. You know what a lady in waiting is?
It's like, isn't it like their helpers or something?
Yeah, like a helper, yeah. In 1525, as Henry grew more impatient with Catherine's inability to produce a male heir that he so desired, he became smitten with Mary's sister, Anne.
Okay.
So that's 2 Marys now. And now we're on to our first Anne. She was
Checking them off.
Yeah, she was a charismatic young woman of 25 in the Queen's entourage. Anne, however, resisted his attempts to seduce her and refused to become his mistress as her sister had. King Henry was trying to find an heir for his dynasty, and these were his options, which came to be known as the King's Great Matter. The King's Great Matter.
Which of these eligible babes will I take next?
That's right. So he had a couple of options, and they included he could legitimise Henry Fitzroy, which would need the involvement of the Pope, and it would be open to challenge.
Pope.
He could marry off Mary, his daughter with Catherine, as soon as possible and hope for a grandson to inherit, directly inherit.
Yeah.
But Mary was considered unlikely to conceive before Henry's death, or somehow he could reject Catherine and marry someone else of childbearing age.
Right.
Probably seeing the possibility of marrying Anne, the third was ultimately the most attractive possibility to the 34-year-old Henry, and it soon became the king's absorbing desire to annul his marriage to the now 40-year-old Catherine.
We've time jumped there a bit, haven't we?
Yes, there was a lot of trying and not
yeah.
succeeding, and so now we've jumped 17 odd years. Again, there's a lot of Catholic laws. Henry needed the Pope's okay for the annulment to go ahead. Using Catherine's marriage to his brother as the excuse.
Which was the thing that he had to get around to begin with.
Yeah. Possibly pressured somewhat by Catherine's nephew, the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, that's Catherine's nephew. The Pope refused. So Henry took matters into his own hands and broke from Rome and the Roman Catholic Church. This could be a whole topic on its own, but this was the start of the Protestant Church and the Church of England.
Crazy to think
this is where it's split.
Crazy crazy to think that all this stuff was going on at the same time as the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
Yep.
You got the English side and the Romans still around. Like,
yeah, the Roman emperor's going around, and there's like a lot. Like I said, there's lots of fighting with France and Scotland and Ireland and
tons of stuff going on.
Tons of stuff going on. So yeah, this, like I said, this is the start of the Protestant Church.
Yeah.
King Henry VIII would become the head of the Church of England.
Yep.
And spawn its whole lineage.
Yeah.
Through to today, like as we know. So he was excommunicated by the Pope in 1533.
This is after he seeked the annulment?
Yes.
Yeah.
And after he kind of split away.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to make my own church. With
and the Pope was like, well, get out of here then. We don't want you
divorce. Futurama.
So that allowed him to divorce Catherine.
Yeah. So he's invented divorce.
Pretty much. Now, Princess Dowager of Wales. That was the title bestowed to her. Dowager means it was a title given to women for like land ownage, or widow, or in this situation.
Again, a needless extra one.
It's a title. It's Dowager is a title. It comes up a little bit. So Dowager of Wales. She was forced to leave the court. For the next 3 years, she lived in seclusion in a series of dank castles and manors with just a few servants.
Dank.
Not that kind of dank. The sad dank.
Oh.
Dank.
Dank.
On January 7th, 1536, Catherine died at Kimbleton Castle and was buried at Peterborough Abbey. Her daughter Mary was forbidden from visiting her or attending her funeral at Peterborough Cathedral. Catherine never accepted the end of her marriage to Henry as legitimate, always seeing herself as England's rightful queen and Henry's wife. They were married for 24 years.
Yeah. Bit of a sad way for her to end. Why was the daughter not allowed to go?
I don't know. He just said no. He was done with her and didn't want to be.
You're not allowed to go, daughter.
Correct. Second wife, Anne Boleyn.
Wife number two.
Anne was born in 1501 to Sir Thomas Boleyn and Lady Elizabeth Howard, and spent much of her youth in France. Returning to England in 1522, she was reported to be fluent in French, a talented musician, and to dress in accordance with French fashions.
Uh-huh.
Anne was previously betrothed.
See this clothing? All baguette.
Yum.
Uh-oh. Now it's all gone.
Anne was previously...
And now we understand how Henry VIII got attracted to her.
You ready for this one, boy?
Yeah.
Anne was previously betrothed to Henry Percy. I wish, can you find a soundbite of eye rolling every time you actually do it?
Every time I roll my eyes.
Yeah. But this engagement had been broken off when it did not gain the support of his father, the 5th Earl of Northumberland. Henry.
Was his name Henry?
No, that's just... I didn't want to get too confused with names, so I just left him out when I could.
Just call every man in this story Henry.
I could. Henry VIII himself had formerly taken Anne's sister Mary as a mistress, as I said before.
Formally taken her as a mistress?
Yeah, he was knocking the sister off while he was married to Catherine.
Yeah, but when you say formally, it makes it sound like it's paperwork or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've just got to register my mistress down at...
No, formally as in previously.
England. Oh, okay.
Right.
Just got to go down to the local council office and report me mistress.
As I said earlier, Anne refused to become the king's mistress, forcing him to wait through 7 years of courtship.
Didn't want to do the paperwork.
Until they could marry in 1532.
Okay.
Henry made Anne the... I looked up this word. Marquette of Pembroke.
Okay.
And the pair married formally, the version of formally you were talking of.
Getting the paperwork done.
In January 1533, after a secret ceremony 2 months earlier.
Right. Cool. Okay. So this is wife 2. Locked down.
Locked in. Ring on the finger. Did they have rings back then?
No idea.
After going through so much to secure the marriage, the king's change of heart was likely due to the fact that, like Catherine, Anne seemed unable to bear him a son after giving birth to Elizabeth I in September of 1533.
Yeah.
After that, she suffered several miscarriages. Henry began to look elsewhere for a woman to bear him a son, and he found this woman in Jane Seymour. Anne was less able to accept Henry's infidelities than her predecessor, and reportedly became enraged and jealous when confronted with evidence of her husband's affairs.
Which she shouldn't really be surprised with at this point.
No, considering her sister was one in the previous marriage.
And I'm certain that she would have known about that.
And he has acknowledged...
What do you mean he cheated on me?
Yeah.
This known cheater, what?
So a month after Henry began courting Jane, he ordered Anne to be investigated for high treason and she was sent to the Tower of London.
Geez. Not the way to do it.
After being tried on charges of adultery, incest and treason, Anne was found guilty.
Oh, shocking.
Most likely wrongly.
Yeah.
By a jury which included her once fiancé, Henry Percy.
Oh, jeez.
Which is not biased at all, is it?
Oh, Heather.
The treason charge alludes to alleged plots to kill the king, but also likely the risk to succession that would be created by a queen having an affair.
Yeah, right.
5 men were found guilty of adultery. Among them were Anne's brother, George, hence the charge of incest.
Yeah.
All were executed on Tower Hill. She, Anne, was beheaded 4 days later on the 19th of May on Tower Green. In her final speech, she did not admit guilt, but instead alluded to her innocence and perhaps to keep her daughter in Henry's favour. Prayed, God save the king and send him long to reign over you, for a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never.
Oh, geez, that must have been hard to say.
So she's been...
Gentler?
Yep, she's been executed. That's wife number 2. Gone.
Off with her head. So we've got sent away to be secluded and beheaded.
Not to forget that he's trumped up some charges for 5 other blokes that he's just offed as well, including her brother.
Their heads. So his kill count's up to 6.
Including the 2 ministers to start with.
Oh, true. So he's got an 8-1 KD so far.
And these are the ones I've just written down. I'm sure there was others that I have left out intentionally. But for our story, he counts it.
Just quickly, I wonder if our English viewers are like enjoying this or whether they're just like, oh, it's like I'm back in school.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I didn't think of that. Anyway, welcome to your childhood. No, I guarantee it wouldn't go into this much detail because there's that much English history. All right, so now we're on to our third marriage.
Yeah.
Henry's love for, or at least his infatuation with Anne may have sparked the Reformation, but Jane is commonly thought to have been his favourite wife. We're talking about Jane Seymour. This is most likely because Jane gave him what none of his other wives could, a son who lived. Like Anne, Jane had served as a lady in waiting to the queen she would replace. It's a very Star Wars vibe, isn't it? Like The Apprentice. Yeah. They also shared a great-grandmother.
Okay.
As did Henry's future wife, Catherine Howard. So there's another Catherine.
Yeah, another Caddy.
Jane was not as highly educated as either of her predecessors.
Oh, a bit of a Dumbo.
Her peaceful, a bit of a blonde.
Wow.
No, I don't know if she was blonde. I think they all had like red hair, to be honest. Her peaceful and gentle personality, starkly contrasting with that of her predecessors, lent itself to peacemaking. Like she was a peacemaker in the courts.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually look this up. I'm assuming it's like those movies when they hold a court, people come into the king. I've got this issue.
I couldn't deal with that. I'd be like, piss off. Who cares about your bread dispute?
Really? That's just...
I could not be a king if that was what I had to do as my day job.
I don't think it was every day.
But can you imagine just like...
Maybe every Saturday.
You're the king and this peasant comes in and he's like, yeah, me Jane Wobbs down there. Jane Wobbs. She only paid me 3 shillings for me bread.
Jane Wobble-Nobber?
Yeah, she stole me bread. It was 8 troppences and she only paid me 7 threepence.
She only paid me 2 sheep.
Yeah, like I couldn't. I'd be like, what? I don't want to be king. See ya.
So if your last name's Wobble-Nobber, what was your profession? You know, like the whole...
Yeah. I like to think that is not how last names came into existence because that's not good for me.
All right.
Pain.
You obviously, family was torturers or something.
I hadn't thought about it that way. I thought it was just, annoying.
Oh, okay. She married the king in May of 1533, just days after Anne had been beheaded.
Yep.
She was never coronated, some believing that the king was waiting for her to have a son first before committing to that. Jane gave birth to a son in October 1534. He would grow up to be king Edward VI. But she would not live to see this. After developing postnatal complication, she died less than 2 weeks after his birth, aged 29.
That's sad.
Jane is attributed with reconciling her husband to his first daughter, Mary, during their short marriage. Her connection to her stepdaughter was so good that Mary acted as chief mourner at her funeral. Jane was the only one of Henry's wives to be given a queen's funeral, despite never being
The queen.
coronated.
Yeah.
And was the wife who Henry chose to be buried with upon his own death in January of 1547.
Well, she made quite the impression.
She did, because the son.
Yeah. True.
Okay, so now we're on to our fourth marriage.
Yeah.
Henry's last three wives are less famous than his first three, a matter that's not helped by the fact that each share a name with their predecessor.
Of course. So we're into Catherine 2 now.
No.
No?
Not only this, but Henry's last three marriages were far less dramatic than his first three. None of these final marriages resulted in any children either. In the case of Anne of Cleves, who is the fourth marriage, this last point is hardly surprising given that her marriage with Henry went unconsummated.
Oh.
The king proved far less enamored with his fourth wife than he had with the first three.
Well, why do you even marry her?
I don't know.
Probably some alliance thing.
Possibly. Henry married Anne in January 1540, though negotiations for the marriage are believed to have begun shortly after Jane's death in 1534. The daughter of the Duke of Cleves and the Count of Mark, Anne was considered a politically advantageous match by Henry's advisors. So one of the things that was mentioned earlier in Henry's life, because he wasn't expected to become king, even though he was highly educated, they never really educated him in like politics and all that. So he had advisors, and he was He was quick to listen to his advisors, actually.
Which you would be if you had no idea what you're doing.
She was only so Anne of Cleves.
Yeah,
I think this is Anne number 2. I think she was only just older than Henry's oldest child, Mary, and she had no formal education. After marrying Anne in January of 1540, Henry had their marriage annulled just 6 months later, citing the lack of consummation, as well as his wife's previous engagements to another man, Francis, Duke of Bar. Henry infamously, thank you, got there.
Infomercialously, yep.
Referred to Anne as a Flanders mare.
Oh, Ned Flanders mare.
And told courtiers and ambassadors that he could not perform his husbandly duties because of Anne's appearance.
Oh, that's rude.
Yeah. She
was an aggo.
Despite this insult, it didn't stop them from becoming close friends later in life.
Okay, all right, sure.
So just friend-zoned her.
Friend-zoned her in the most public way.
Yep.
The king's wife, and now not because she be fugly. But they're besties.
Yeah. Anne's acceptance of the annulment seemed to win her favour with Henry.
Yeah, well, she kept her head.
Yeah. And she subsequently became an honorary member of his family known as the king's beloved sister. So he didn't friend zone her, he family zoned her.
Sister-zoned her. That's weird.
Her generous settlement included Richmond Palace and also the home and also the home of Henry's former in-laws, the Boylans, Hever Castle. What, boy?
Oh no, stepbrother, I'm stuck.
Not in this situation. He didn't want to.
Yeah, she's fugly.
Anne died in 1557, outliving all the other 5 wives and Henry himself.
Wow, good on her.
She is the only one of Henry's queens to be buried in Westminster Abbey.
Okay.
Side note for this one, the political advisor who arranged the marriage, he didn't fare so well.
Oh, come on.
Thomas Cromwell was executed on the 28th of July, 1540.
I know that name.
Do you?
Yeah.
He was executed the same day Henry married his next wife.
Oh, jeez. What a big day for Henry.
You want to have a guess at this? The fifth
Mary.
wife's name? Go back
Catherine.
to Catherine.
Yeah, all right.
Henry's marriage to Catherine Howard came close to matching the drama of his earlier partnerships.
Okay.
Perhaps unsurprising, given that this teenage bride was the first cousin of Anne Boleyn.
Right. Anne Boleyn, that was the second wife.
Yes.
Yeah, the one that he really didn't like.
No,
he had
liked
her head off.
It was
Jane that he really liked.
He really liked Jane. He really liked Anne to begin with.
Yeah.
But then ended up beheading her.
Yeah. Okay.
Catherine's life had been turbulent even before Henry came on the scene.
Yeah.
As one of the many wards of her father's stepmother, the Dowager Duchess of Norfolk, she began at the age of 13 to be involved in repeated sexual conduct with her music teacher, Henry Mannix.
Henry again.
Later, Catherine had become embroiled in an extramarital affair with the Dowager's secretary, Frances Dearnham.
Right. So she's getting around.
I said she was 13, remember?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that bit.
So, yeah.
Come on.
So she was a young'un, and she was doing this. After the Dowager's Duchess found out, Catherine was sent to court to serve as a lady-in-waiting to Anne of Cleves.
Right. So this is how she's come in contact
see
with
the pattern here?
Big H.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Big A. That's good. This position had been secured for her by her uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, who saw an opportunity in Henry's lack of interest in Fugly Anne.
Oh, fuggers.
The king was certainly attracted.
Poor Anne.
Well, she was the one that outlived them all.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but she spent the whole time being called fugly, having guys beheaded for just daring to get her married to the king.
The king was certainly attracted to Catherine's youth, looks, and vivacity.
Yeah.
The pair were married in 1540. In the spring of the following year, however, Catherine is alleged to have begun an affair with a favoured courtier of Henry's named Thomas Culpeper.
Culpeper.
There's a lot of names in here, right?
Yeah.
Their meetings were reportedly organised by Jane Boylan, the widow of Anne Boylan's executed brother, George.
Okay.
So remember how...
Yeah. Anne Boyer, the second wife, was beheaded. One of the things that she was accused of
was sleeping with her
brother George.
And now this is...
Jane
Boylan. Jane is George's wife. Or widow.
Okay, yeah.
It's so secular, hey? Like it's kept in such a tight circle.
Because that was basically what happened back then, was that the court was just the court and everyone in it sort of just was doing everything together. And
this is one of the reasons why I found this story so interesting, because it was so tangled.
Yeah.
It's almost like you need to set up the red web, with all the connections to follow it.
A little bit crazy as you go, he shouldn't have beheaded her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By autumn, rumours about Catherine's conduct were abundant, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, learned of her alleged affair with Culpeper, as well as her previous relationships with the Dowager's Duchess Secretary, Dearnham.
Yeah.
Cranmer launched an investigation into Catherine's alleged affairs, and she was detained and questioned in November 1541. Rather than admitting to the earlier affair and possible pre-contract with Dearnham, which would have allowed her an annulment and banishment, Catherine maintained that the relationship was non-consensual.
Okay.
Charged with high treason, both Culpeper and Dearnham were executed in December 1541. What's our count up to now?
Oh, so that he had 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then has he killed a wife since then?
No, but he killed the advisor, so that was 9.
9.
So now he's up to
11. Yeah. So 11 to 1 KD.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, only the ones that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
In order to find Catherine guilty of a crime, the Royal Assent by Commission Act 1541 was passed. So he's made up a law, pretty much. It became treasonous to fail to disclose premarital sexual relations to the monarch within 20 days of marriage.
Within 20, so not even beforehand?
No, you had 20 days after marriage to disclose it.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or to instigate a person to engage in adultery as the Queen Consort. So the Queen Consort is the King's wife.
Yeah.
So it was treasonous to seduce someone, or not even disclose
that
what
you had. Yeah. Okay.
Why
would he not write that so that it's you have to know before you get married?
I don't know.
What terrible law. Again, we're going back into Aaron and John's ancient law podcast, which is not happening.
Within months, Catherine had gone the same way as her cousin Anne, executed for high treason. On her way by barge to the Tower of London, she likely have passed under the impaled heads of her reported lovers, Culpeper and Dearnham, on London Bridge.
Gross.
Catherine was probably about 19 years old.
Oh, big H.
So now that's 12.
Yep.
Jane Boylan was also executed, and both were buried in unmarked graves at the Tower's parish chapel alongside Catherine's cousin and Jane's sister-in-law and husband, Anne and George Boylan. So they're all buried together.
At least they're together.
So now we're at 13?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Marriage number 6.
Oh, yeah, we're not even at the last marriage yet.
Nope.
Now we are, but...
Henry's 6th and final wife.
Yeah.
And his 3rd named Catherine. There's 2 Catherines in a row.
It's like he's a dude that gets all his wives' names tattooed and he's like, I just don't want another tattoo. Just, you're Catherine, come here.
That's a good way to put it.
You see, I've only had 4 wives. It was 4 names.
Well, 3. He's only had
Wasn't it?
He's
It
had
was
three.
Catherine.
He's had 3 Catherines,
Anne.
2 Annes, and a Jane. He's
I
only
thought he had a
3 though.
Mary.
No, that's his daughter.
Okay. So, yeah. So, Catherine, Anne, Jane, Anne, Catherine.
Catherine.
Come on, dude.
So yeah, the third named Catherine was perhaps his luckiest.
Yep.
She married Henry in July of 1543. He's getting through them now. This is only
just rolling through.
Yep. Just 4 months after Catherine Howard was beheaded. Catherine Parr had been married twice before, being titled Lady Burr and the Lady of Latmia, and married again around 6 months after Henry died. So what's that? That's 4 marriages for her, making her the most married English queen. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
This is not Catherine's only claim to fame. She was also the first queen of both England and Ireland.
Okay.
The third Catherine had begun a romantic relationship with Jane Seymour's brother.
Patrick Seymour Hoffman.
Jane Seymour was wife number 3.
Yeah.
Thomas. So originally the 6th wife was involved with the 3rd wife's brother. It's so confusing.
Say that again. The 6th
The 6th wife was originally romantically
involved with the 3rd wife's brother. Oh, jeez. Come on, guys. Make it easier for us.
His name was Thomas. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Thomas the Dank Engine.
Dank Castles. At that point, she had caught the eyes of BH.
Big H.
But she considered it her duty to marry the king instead. So she made the choice like, no, it's my duty to my country.
By this point, you should be like, maybe it's a safer bet not to marry him.
Yeah, mate, well, what if you don't? What if you reject him? What happens?
Yeah, true.
So in 1546, some Protestant officials tried to turn Henry against Catherine and even drew up a warrant for her arrest. But Catherine outwitted them and successfully reconciled with her husband, avoiding the same fate as her unlucky predecessors.
Good on her. I think by this point, he was starting to get pretty close to death.
Yes. Yeah, pretty much.
So he probably just didn't want the drama.
Yeah, I go into it a little bit afterwards.
Okay.
It was said that the warrant for her arrest was because she had a big fight with Big H.
Okay.
Because she liked to argue
so she would have done well on maths.
Yeah. She liked to argue religious.
This week on maths, Big H is thinking about ending things with a cut. Cut of her neck.
Yeah, apparently she liked to argue theological stuff.
Okay.
And so they had a big fight over that. And
he's like, maybe I'll just have her arrested?
Yeah. And so
it's one way to win an argument.
She kind of outwitted them by getting rid of all banned books that she had and then snuck around and spoke to him anyway. So yeah. Anyway, she was different also. She was 30 years old.
Okay.
She was a bit older and a scholar. She became the first English queen to write and publish a book under her own name. The book is called
Harry Potter and the Prisoner.
Prayers and Meditations.
Okay.
I wonder if that's something we can find now. Anyway.
I bet you it'd be difficult to read.
When Henry died in 1547,
yep,
he left provisions of £7,000 a year for Catherine to support herself.
Wow.
And for Catherine to be treated as Queen Dowager. And she was still in possession of all her courtly clothes, jewels, etc. Catherine's final husband was her previous interest and the uncle of the new king, Thomas Seymour.
Right, okay.
So the new king was Jane. So that was Edward VI, I think I said.
Oh, wasn't Henry, was it?
No.
Okay.
I don't even know if there's Henry the Ninth. I'm not even sure.
No, I'm pretty sure Henry VIII was the last Henry king.
Yeah. So this Catherine has gone back to her previous flame.
Yeah.
The uncle of the new king. Seymour also had interest in the future queen, Lady Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Who lived with the married couple. So, yeah.
Bit weird.
So Elizabeth is, I guess, technically stepdaughter to Catherine. It's very complicated.
Yep.
This rumour was included in evidence which resulted in Seymour's execution in 1549 for treason.
Wow. Yep.
This came after his wife's death, for in August of 1548, Catherine had given birth to her only child and died several days later from suspected childbed fever. Not a great time to live, is it?
Nah, again, I don't want to live back then.
So in closing, the image that we have of Henry, the large image, the large man.
Big fat fatty.
Yep. This was because
Clive Palmer, but slightly smarter.
What do you reckon caused him? Because, like I said, he was an athletic, strong.
Well, he did get older, and people generally pudge out as they get older.
Well, he was only in his 50s when he died, really.
Yeah, but by the time you're 50, you're pudging out. You are closing in on 50.
I'm a few years off 50 yet.
Not many.
Wow. Okay. There was a reason this happened.
Yeah.
It was during his fourth marriage. He was no longer the athletic sportsman he once was.
Giving
Because
up the real tennis.
he had a disastrous accident at the age of 44.
Oh, not a real tennis accident.
No, his horse rolled on him during a tournament, which
Yeah, that'll hurt you.
left him with a crippled leg. So he was unable to exercise,
Right. Yeah. So he starts packing it on.
but he continued his lavish lifestyle,
Yeah.
gaining so much weight. By the end of his life, he measured 4.5 feet around the waist, 4.5 foot around the waist.
That's a big boy.
That's a big boy.
Yeah.
Um,
That is a big boy.
he also suffered from severe leg ulcers.
Yeah. Probably gout and a whole bunch of other
Yeah, so that was one of
fatty
the
diseases.
that was one of the things the last couple of wives. I think the second Catherine was a nurse, so she was able to help with the. No, that was the young one, wasn't it?
I think so.
Maybe it was Anne. I don't know. One of them was had some nurse training, was able to help with those leg ulcers. And that's it. That's the story of Henry's 6 wives and how they ended up. Just a lot of yuck, really, really, in it.
A lot of moments where you're just going, ugh,
Yeah.
no thank you.
Like I said before, it was kept in such a close circle.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like that's how it was back then with
They didn't
that's
really-
how they ended up so inbred.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just all a bit icky, isn't it?
He did do a lot of other stuff for England as well. Like, he's most famous for
Yeah.
having 6 wives and
When he was in his
Handing to
youth,
him.
apparently he was a really good king.
Yeah.
And even towards the end, he won wars.
yeah, that's what I've got written down here. Like,
Yeah.
he created the Church of England. There was a few wars and he was very good military wise, fighting against France and Scotland. It was said he changed the political landscape for England. He took away a lot of power from a bunch of nobles and brought it back to the monarchy.
Yeah.
And I believe he's a part of one of the greatest sequels in history.
Yeah.
His daughter, Queen
Elizabeth II.
first,
How's that a sequel if she's the first?
because she's his daughter.
Oh, right. Okay. I got you now.
So you got this turmoil of all these wives and
Yeah.
people assume that he was a terrible king.
How did Edward die?
I didn't get into that. I did read that, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
We can look that
Current
up.
Queen Elizabeth is the second, right?
Yes.
And okay, so Henry died, Edward took over.
Let's look up Henry VIII succession. Was his son Edward, and he was 9 at the time when he succeeded the throne.
Right.
Edward's successor. Let's have a look at that up. And what was it? It was the 6th.
Return of everyone's favorite segment, live Googling.
Edward the 6th successor was Mary the First.
Okay. So then how did Elizabeth become queen?
I think Elizabeth might have been the successor to Mary.
Oh, was it Mary his first daughter?
Mary was the first daughter, yes.
Okay, gotcha. It wasn't Edward's
No.
daughter or something?
No.
Yeah, okay. Wow, so they had 2 queens in a row.
Mary the first successor was Elizabeth the First.
Right.
That's a whole story we could
Yeah.
probably go into. The
So
battle
3
between...
of his children became the monarch.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a record.
I don't know. It's just the quick Google says various dramatic events led to Elizabeth I taking over the throne from the Catholic Queen Mary I. Edward VI of England died at the age of 15 in 1553. Earlier in the year, he had overturned his father's will, disinherited his sisters, and named his Protestant cousin, Lady Jane Grey, as his successor. So that's a whole story because I believe what I just said happened. He died, and then I think, was it Elizabeth was in Scotland, Mary was in England, and there was a big old battle.
Yeah.
And then that's how Elizabeth became in power. She kicked out her stepsister. That's a whole story we could probably go into one day. Is that where the Battle of Hastings comes from?
No.
No.
That was France v. England.
Oh, okay.
And that's how we got words like beef and cow and how they're the same thing.
Did you learn that at Beef Week?
Nah.
Oh, it sounds like you learned that at Beef Week.
I learned a lot of stuff at Beef Week. Wasn't that?
How to undo your top belt after eating a big old steak.
Yeah. So good. Nah, things like there's a type of seaweed that they've determined they can feed cows, and it's like 1 or 10% of the emissions that a normal cow would poop out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool. Feed them some seaweed, they stop farting so much. What do you want from me? You brought up Beef Week.
Sorry. Yeah, I did.
It was a beef industry event. It wasn't anything that interesting.
All right, sorry.
Gee, I mean, come on, man.
But yeah,
I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah, sure.
Prize-winning cows at a cow show are beautiful.
Really?
Yeah. You ever seen a like fluffed up clean cow?
No.
They are immaculate, beautiful beings.
We've now entered the beef portion of the podcast.
Yeah. Regular cattle, not so beautiful. There was some standing behind us the whole time. Boy, did that pen get stinky. Yeah. I did a week doing a trade show.
Yeah, we talked about it in our chatting podcast. Not enough seaweed, too much grass.
Yeah. Yep. Memories.
Anyway, that's the episode. That's like I said, that's Henry and his 6 wives.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe in the future we can do the whole story of Elizabeth. I'm pretty sure it was Elizabeth v. Mary.
Yeah.
And how that played out. We might even be able to do the sequel to this.
You could also just do Henry's life outside of his.
You definitely could. There's a lot of things out there. But yeah, I like I said, I believe that's probably the greatest sequel in history. Like, because Mary was Elizabeth I was apparently England's greatest queen ever. She's reported to be England's greatest queen. So to go from, I guess, all that, would you reckon it would cause uncertainty with like the population? With all
I reckon
these
they wouldn't even know
beheadings and marriages and
nah.
Do you reckon
I reckon it was way more common.
Do you reckon they got public holidays every time he married a new wife?
Oh, probably, yeah.
That'd be great. To be honest, wouldn't it?
Do you reckon it would be, or would you be like...
Actually, was public holidays a thing back then?
Nah, probably not. It would have, I guarantee that he would have been like, everyone come to a party, but also if you don't make enough grain, off with your head.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
What do we end up for death total?
It was 13 last count. Yeah.
Just, wow.
Yeah. Oh, well, there's that.
Wrap it up, boy. Let's put a ring on this episode. Wrap it up.
Well, as always, find us on social media at Cheeky Tales Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On those cheeky pages, you'll also find links to our Linktree, which will have all the exciting information like videos that we reference, as well as links to podcasting sites, which you should already be on. Most of you are on Spotify.
What about merch?
Merch. Hit us up at cheekytales.com.
There's no merch. Don't do
merch. I've made a series of NFTs. No, I haven't. Stuff NFTs. Yeah, but Cheeky Coin launching next week. You can get a mug. It's got nothing on it. It's just a plain ceramic mug.
Don't be making promises, boy, because you're going to have to fulfill these.
I make no promise. You just put me on the spot and made me think of merch ideas.
But yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Share us with a friend who likes beheadings. Edit that one out. Share us with a friend who likes English history.
There are those people out there.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Share it with a friend who likes creating their own church because they don't like a rule.
I thought you were going to say multiple wives.
If you're like John and you like multiple
no.
Bring it back to the start.
I thought of Ross from Friends with his 3 marriages.
You know, if you watch Friends and really think about it,
he's the worst character.
He is easily the worst character.
He's a douchebag.
He's an asshole all the time.
It's so funny though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is not a Friends podcast.
It's like when if you watch Seinfeld, Kramer's the best.
I've never watched Seinfeld.
You should. As an adult, very funny.
Okay.
But it is like 4 awful people being in the same area all the time. Yeah. What's the deal with airplane food?
Terrible Jerry Springer accent.
I mean, it's pretty close. Actually pretty close. Yeah. Okay. What's the deal with Target?
Just wrap it up, boy.
Like he's here.
Just wrap it up.
I can't believe we managed to get Jerry on.
Just wrap it up. Thanks for listening, guys. Hope you had a good one. We'll catch you in a fortnight.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.